In May 2024, I decided I want to learn the guitar, and this time for real. Make sure you watch the video until the end, because this time I'll share with you what happened when I finally took playing the guitar seriously.
I'm feeling good as I'm walking by the beach. I know today will be the day that's full of joy and play.
So I'll bring you back to when I was just 10 years old. Back then, my parents told me I had to learn an instrument, and I chose the guitar, but actually I didn't really want to play the guitar. And because I didn't consciously choose to play the guitar, it felt more like a chore. So I went to my guitar lessons every week, but I never practiced. And so after going there for a while, I barely made any progress. And I will take you forward in time a little bit to May 2024. And that was a moment in my life where I'd already had about 1.5 years of singing practice, and I felt the calling to finally learn the guitar again. So what I did is I went on Amazon, I looked for cheap guitars, I found a guitar for about 80 euros, and bought it and just played around a bit with it. After that, I went to YouTube, watched some guitar tutorials and videos, and just learned a few chords and learned a few basic ways to play. But after about a week of doing this, I realized I want to go way deeper, and I feel like I need a guitar teacher, someone who can really teach me to play well. So I reached out to my friends, asked them if they know anybody, and I found somebody who back then lived close to me, and we had about one lesson every week. And the way that this guy approached his lessons was different to how my guitar teacher from the music school approached the lessons. Back then, I learned a bunch of theory and it wasn't really compelling to me. But what happened this time was my teacher asked me, "Hey, Julian, what songs do you enjoy? What songs do you like to play?" And then he showed me how to play these songs. And as we were playing these songs, he taught me the theory in the process. But the focus was not on learning theory, the focus was on learning the songs. And this approach of him allowed me to really be motivated as I was practicing daily. I committed to practicing at least 15 minutes every day. And most days I did it in the morning, right after my meditation routine, because it kind of helped me jumpstart my day with a positive experience. I know several people, they start their day off checking their phones or doing something rather unproductive. And I used to do that as well in a certain period in my life, but changing that with playing the guitar really made a positive difference. So how did I go about playing the guitar? Well, firstly, I practiced my chords and I made sure that I could hear the chords well, that they were clean. So sometimes what you do is when you don't put your fingers on well, it kind of makes this weird sound that it doesn't sound clean. So I made sure I would play my chords well. And I also just practiced my transitions over and over again. And I learned to really fall in love with this rather quote-unquote boring process of just changing chords over and over and over again. The first song I learned was Knocking on Heaven's Door. I feel like I'm knocking on heaven's door. After that, I started learning Sweet Home Alabama, which actually isn't the easiest song, but my teacher realized I was willing to just do the quote-unquote boring stuff over and over again. So I just practiced that song, I think, for 1.5 months straight. And the song I learned after that was Californication. Psychic spies from China try to steal your mind's elation, and little girls from Sweden dream of silver screen quotation. If you want these kind of dreams, it's Californication. Each new song that I learned taught me something new. For example, how to vary my rhythm, how to have different finger positions, and how to change chords well. After a few weeks of playing the guitar, every single day, being committed, I made more progress than I did when I was a kid over a long period of time. And to me, that really shows the power of doing something consistently, doing something deliberately and with focus, and enjoying the process. And after about a month or so of playing, the whole process felt effortlessly. And in fact, it was not that I had to force myself to practice, but often I would practice more than 15 minutes, just maybe 30 minutes, maybe more, just doing the basic patterns over and over again. And in fact, it was harder not to practice than to practice. And when I was visiting my parents in Portugal, I decided to buy a guitar to leave there, a cheap one, just because I wanted to practice so much. Another thing that really helped me on my journey was that I was allowing myself to be experimental with the guitar. I didn't force myself to learn all the boring theory, but I just picked up the guitar and tried around. How does this chord shape sound like? How does this chord shape sound like? What happens when I play this chord and this note, and how do they fit together? I approached the whole process from a state of curiosity.
I'm grateful. Thank you, life, for showing me the way. Thank you that I get to live today. I'm grateful.
And as I told you in the beginning, there were some shifts in my life that I noticed that were beyond music, because learning the guitar, learning to play the guitar well, doing something consistently, it changes your character. You learned to approach life from a more curious place. You learn to see the power that compounded efforts have over time. And I feel like now when I learn a new skill, for example, the piano, I started learning the piano about 2 months ago. And learning the piano has become easier because I taught myself how to focus over a longer period of time and how to really stretch myself beyond what I think I'm capable of, because this is where learning happens. And now, 1.5 years later, I'd consider myself to be an intermediate guitar player. I've even given my first concert. I've played a bunch of times on stage.
Who you aren't exactly, know that you are loved, know that life is on your side even when things are tough.
And what I love now is that playing the guitar to me has become so joyful. And I know there's still a lot to learn, but to me, going about practicing, going about doing something that's difficult has become so much easier and much more second nature. And now, putting it all together as a summary, the main things I learned on my journey was, if you want to play the guitar, do it for you and not for anybody else. Next, focus on having consistent practices in your life. It's not about being motivated. It's not about having a burst of motivation and being like, okay, now I'm going to practice for hours. That doesn't matter. What matters is that you practice consistently, even if it's just 5 minutes or 10 minutes over a longer period of time. And there will come a point when you do that over and over again that you will enjoy the process. And this is where even when you just set 5 minutes or 10 minutes to play, you will find yourself playing easily for 20 minutes because you love the process so much. And after a couple of months, you'll start to see progress, which will create a beautiful upward spiral where the more progress you make, the more you're inspired to learn and practice. The more you learn and practice, the more progress you make. It's really beautiful. Next, a great teacher accelerates everything. I always used to believe that we need to have a great teacher, but I recently found someone on YouTube who was truly an excellent guitar player, and he said he never had a teacher. So it may be true that some people don't need a teacher and they can teach themselves everything by watching YouTube videos. But personally, I love having a teacher because he keeps me accountable, because he can also show me some of my own blind spots. And I find that really helpful. My teacher has shown me a lot of my blind spots regarding how I do my picking, how I have my finger positionings, how I kind of strum certain passages on my guitar. And lastly, learning to play the guitar teaches you how to learn in general. And it's kind of like you learn the guitar, yes, but you also learn kind of a skill set of how to approach learning anything in life. And I find that in today's day and age, with instant gratification and TikTok videos and people's attention spans getting smaller and smaller, people forget the joy that comes from pursuing mastery in a certain area in their life. And so whatever you want to do with your life, wherever you want to go, whatever kind of goals you have, I think that playing the guitar will help you in either way, because it teaches you how to focus. And you will need that for the rest of your life, guaranteed. And now I'm curious, what were your main insights from watching this video? Are you learning the guitar right now, or have you learned an instrument yourself? Let me know in the comments down below what your thoughts are. And if you enjoyed this video, give it a like, because it helps out the video and allows more people to see it. So I wish you guys a great day, and we'll see you in the next video.